Good evening and welcome to night 4 of the World Grand Prix, 2023 World Grand Prix Fallout Bar Show. What a night we've had! We've had a shot, some of great finishes, near perfection, and we've also had probably the best results come out of the Northeast this week with Prix Dobey beating MVG. And as I say that, Dan Simpson, welcome to the show, mate.
Wow, what a week for Northeast sport, mate! And it's only just getting started. It's only Thursday. We've still got the rest of the week to go. What a week! I think definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the best night of darts action we've had so far in the tournament. I think I really felt today that tonight was when the Grand Prix got properly up and running. Big performances. There wasn't a bad game amongst them. Every game had something. Really entertaining, very watchable tonight. Really impressed.
Yeah, just shared a few links on socials. Just dropping quickly to the chat room to Rinda, Missy Mad, and Malaki, Jay, Joe, Nels are in nice and early. And let's get underway. As you said, there's a lot of talking points to come out of tonight. And this storyline doesn't seem fair to say. Luke Humphries 3, Luke Woodhouse 0. And when I say it's not fair to say, every set went 3-2. Every set, Luke Woodhouse was leading 2-1. But every set, Luke Humphries found a way down.
Yeah, it's you're dead right in that 3-0 is a very flattering scoreline compared to the game that we saw. Luke Woodhouse did very little wrong. I think we spoke a little bit about him earlier in the week. He was the lowest ranked player in the tournament. He was the last player to qualify by the skin of his teeth with the last darts that he could have qualified with. He put in a really good performance tonight. He averaged very well. He got in and out well. And as I say, 3-0 doesn't really reflect the quality of the game that we actually saw. Luke, take nothing away from Luke Humphries. He won the game. Set play is a very, very funny thing. And I don't think, and I've said it a couple of times, that I don't think set play particularly suits Luke Humphries as well as a straight leg match play game format does. But it did in tonight's game. He was just able to keep edging, taking his chances when he got them at the right times, winning the right legs, and it's a really good result for that Luke and for Humphries. And he'll definitely feel like he's been in a game. We didn't see the best of him tonight. We weren't seeing, his A game throughout the evening. He's probably going to have to lift that a little bit if he's going to go on and do a bit more in the tournament. But really positive performance coming through that because he did come back from adversity a couple of times, Humphries, and yeah, it is a shame for Woodhouse because he played very well.
Yeah, as you mentioned, lowest ranked player coming into this week, Luke Woodhouse. A lot of positives from this week. Obviously, coming through first round. Second round, you take on Luke Humphries, one of the most informed players in the world right now. It's probably easy to say, probably has been over the past 18 months, 2 years, if you take it away from TV. But 2 opportunities in set 1 for Woodhouse. One in lead 4, one in lead 5 of that set. Then he had 2 more set darts in the third set. Very, very small margins. But is this now the difference in Luke Humphries, that when them opportunities are coming, he's taking them? And like you said, he does need to improve, but these are probably the games sometimes that he struggles to get over the line with on TV. Is this now the signs of him getting to that level of getting closer to win the TV title?
It's just more and more. He's just looking more and more comfortable on a TV stage, isn't he? Even when he is up against it and when the odds are stacked against him, he doesn't panic. He didn't panic tonight. He didn't. He dug in, went about his business. It was a very professional performance against a very game competitor.
Let's hear from the man himself. A little clip from Luke Humphries.
Yeah, I did. I everyone knows I get frustrated myself. I really did feel frustrated properly. Sometimes everyone sees I get a little bit frustrated and that, but that's, I don't let that affect my performance. But yeah, tonight maybe I was very frustrated because I could not get anything going. And people don't understand sometimes when you know what you can do and it's physically not coming out, it's quite hard and it's hard to deal with. And I'm used to being a heavy scorer, and I put people under pressure. And tonight I really couldn't find them treble. So yeah, maybe I was too hard on myself, and maybe that was why I carried on the not scoring very well. We can all I could have accepted a bad first set, but maybe sometimes I'm too hard on myself. But you don't. I'm world number 5. You don't get there if if I'm too hard on myself. You have to be. So yeah, it's just one of them things.
The greats of the game always say it's not what you do with your A game, it's what you do when you're not playing at your best. And the fact that
I can guarantee you, I will walk away from this sport one day being a major champion. That isn't no question. But it might not happen this year. It might happen next year. It might happen in 5 years. But it will happen one day. I just know it.
He doesn't lack confidence, does he, Luke Humphries?
No, he doesn't. He's not afraid to set out his stall, is he? And I have no real issue with that. I think that's the thing. Is he? Whilst he is yet to win, something massive on the TV, it very much looks like a when rather than an if, doesn't it? We know he's got loads of potential. We know he's in that top bracket of the order of merit. We know he's in with a shot at the Premier League this year. He could end up with a shot at the Premier League just on the basis of being in the top 4 by the time we get to January, February March next year. But it definitely feels like when rather than if with Luke Humphries.
Yeah, don't disagree. And it's always a positive when you hear a Luke Humphries interview and he doesn't mention the Premier League. I haven't listened to the full lot, so he might have done at some point, but he didn't mention the clip that Phil's done there. Anyway, we'll move on to game number 2. And Dan, we wasn't on last night's show. Obviously, you was supporting Newcastle, but we had the show last night that we wasn't on. But I know that if I would have predicted Ryan Searle and Peter Wright result last night, I wouldn't have done with Peter Wright to win in that manner. I'm fairly certain, Dan has been on these with you numerous times, that you wouldn't have done that way. But what finishing from Peter Wright, and I don't just mean the big X that we had, but throughout the day, he looked very, very comfortable.
He did, and we spoke a little bit about. Well, we spoke loads about Peter, haven't we? Over the last year, we spoke extensively in every way you possibly could analyse what was going on with this game. But there was so many positives that I took from. I mean, the combination finishing was absolute box office, and that really was what established Peter Wright as a fan favourite. 3-4 years ago, when everybody in the arena was cheering on Peter Wright, it was because of those box. The 1-6-7 bang bang bang, everything absolutely perfect. But then there was times in that game where he played the game, and I know that Peter Wright does. He does flourish in set play as well. We've seen him at the World Championships, and set play is something. That last set of the match where Peter Wright won the set 3-0. Ryan Searle didn't get a dart at a double. It is very, very, very rare that a player with the scoring capability of Ryan Searle gets through an entire set without throwing a dart at a double. And Peter Wright just put his foot down. He'd kept Ryan at bay, and then just in that fourth set, managed to just steam ahead, and as everything was almost perfect in that last leg. The last set of the match. Really impressive stuff. There was a lot of sort of vintage Peter Wright on display tonight, and if he can carry that through, we saw a great performance from him. In the first round, he played well against Gabe Clemens, and he's now put together two good performances. And I'm really excited about seeing a quarterfinal between Luke Humphries and the Peter Wright we saw tonight. If Peter Wright can carry the same form and the same approach and level that he hit tonight, then that is going to be an absolute belter of a match between Peter Wright and Luke Humphries in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We will speak more about Peter Wright, but I want to speak more about him once we've listened to the clip, because it is a very, very interesting clip. But before we do, is this another missed opportunity from Ryan Searle? And before you answer that, Dan, there's a reason I say that is we saw an outstanding performance from him at the match play, and then he dropped out at the quarterfinals. We've seen now the draw of, we've seen him beating Damon Heta, and Damon Heta's had a very good year this year, but Ryan Sultan through that one. Coming up against an out of sorts Peter Wright, and then would have had Luke Humphries, who we've all spoke about, not yet to win that TV title. Is this now, is the question marks around that Ryan Sultan on TV? Because he is playing very well, especially the year he's having with Darry Anderson-Prattin. We are seeing some great performances, but it just don't seem to be getting much closer.
No, and the interesting thing is some of the bigger matches that he seems to have had on television, unfortunately, is he keeps getting beat by Peter Wright. It's almost like Peter Wright is his bogeyman. Like, think about like last year's World Championships or 2022 World Championships. I think he was beat 4th round by Peter Wright. Players Championship finals, Ryan had an amazing run. In my head, to get to the final, was beaten by Peter Wright. It does seem like Peter Wright is his bogeyman when it comes to big matches on the television. I'm not so sure. If I'm honest, I don't think, and I know I said the same about Luke Woodhouse, I don't think Ryan did a great deal wrong tonight. He played all right. His scoring fell off a bit in that last leg, but you can almost analyse that just as easy by saying that in the 4th set, Peter Wright averaged 100 in a double-in, double-out game. So it is difficult to knuckle down and say, well, how much of that was Peter Wright being very, very, very good, and how much was it Ryan not really playing, the way that he can? I don't take too much of a negative from that, but he's got a big few months ahead of him, Ryan Searle. European Championships are coming up, Grand Slam. The Players' Championship finals is going to be big because he's defending a lot. He's defending a final this year. So he's defending the biggest chunk of his ranking money. He's defending those Players' Championship finals. So really important few months, I think, for Ryan.
Yeah, don't disagree with you there. As I said, we will come back and speak about Peter Wright, but let's hear it from him first before we do.
You've been a fan's favourite for many years. Were you surprised with the reception you got here?
I was getting booed and I don't care. I got them on my side in the end. That's all I count. As long as the fans are enjoying themselves, I don't care. I'm up there to try and win, and that's all. Yeah, as soon as you start winning tournaments and getting better, the turn against you, they start not being on your side. They like the outsider to win, So it's that's what it goes. And now Michael go back, you still using my darts? I said, yeah. I told you, your dart sales up. But I just like the balance of them, and if I've got to use them, and until obviously Red Dragon sort me out something similar. That's fine. I know my old elements. Is it the elements?
Yeah.
And the gold one? They're very similar, but they're a little bit too long, a little bit thinner, and so So hopefully we're working on something. If not, I'll still use Michaels and win tournaments with him.
Is Peter Wright then comfortable with a set of darts, Dan?
I love the last 3 seconds of that, where he talked for ages about getting some new darts and getting them developed and this, that, and the other, and then just the last 3 seconds he just shrugged it off and went, I could just keep using Michaels and win tournaments. He's absolutely brilliant.
That wasn't the reason why I left the clip before we come back to Peter, but around the first part of that clip, he's talking about the fans not on his side, or Phil alluded to it in the questioning around the booing. We've seen it a little bit in the Premier League. We've seen it a few weeks in the Premier League. But I can't remember, apart from when you're looking at Euro tours and you're coming up against the home favourites, I can't remember that sort of reaction during a game for Peter Wright before he was world champion, maybe. But since that time, I can't remember that. And it, for me, it is very surprising. And why do you think that might be? Because for me, I'm struggling to find out why.
I just think, and I sort of alluded to it a little bit earlier, I think it's because we haven't seen a lot of the things that everybody enjoys seeing from Peter Wright. And as much as the entrance is good and all, and the style and everything else is great, people love to see him doing what he did tonight. Playing exceptional darts, taking out massive 3-dart combination finishes, and winning games and entertaining with his darts. And he hasn't done a lot of that in the last 2 years. He hasn't done a great deal of it at all. I think the I think a lot of it is just that. I mean, I don't know whether that would force someone to boo, but I do think that's why the love that was there, if you like, has sort of fallen away a little bit. But I don't want to call darts fans fickle. Well, I will, sod it. They're quite fickle, some of them. Certainly, some of them are. And I don't think it'll take a great deal for somebody like Peter Wright to get the crowd back on side. Especially, it depends. The other thing as well is it will sometimes, like, and I know you say, Euro Tour against a home favourite, it will depend on who he plays. If he gets a semi-final against Chris Dobey, I hope he's roundly booed out of the building. I hope every dart he throws is met with boos and hisses. But no, I don't think it'll take much.
You're better than that. You're better than that.
I know I am. But I think by the time we get to the World Championships, I think if he carries on the footing he seems to be on at the moment, then I don't think that'll be too much of a lasting issue.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And what a quarterfinal that has set up with Humphries. I'm very, very interested to see, Dan, your thoughts and the chat room's thoughts on where that will go when we come to predictions later on, because there is a lot riding on what Peter Wright turns up in that game, not probably what Humphries turns up, and that's the decision. So it'll be interesting to see your thoughts and everyone else on where that will go. But we'll save that for later on. We'll continue with the night's play. And for me, the best aim of the 2023 World Grand Prix of darts we have seen so far, Michael van Gerwen 2, Prix Dobey 3. Dan, talk to me, because this was mental from leg 1, the start of Dobey, the brilliance of MVG, and then just a mix of everything in between.
I mean, it literally, it genuinely, and I know it's an overused phrase, this, and I use it quite a lot, but it really did have everything. The only thing it missed was one of those 9 darters coming off, and then it would have truly had absolutely everything. It was like, and I know I approach it as a big Chris Dobey fan, but I think anyone, regardless of who you support and what where your allegiance lies, you've just got to appreciate that was such an entertaining game. We haven't seen record-breaking averages. We haven't seen checkout statistics that really rival anything in the top half of what we've seen in this tournament. We just saw a real battle, like a real dug in the trenches battle between the two of them. And I think when Dobey won that first set, I was jumping off the sofa, and when MVG leveled it up, certainly the manner at which he leveled it up, and when he, twice, sets 2 and set 3, we saw 8 darts deep into the perfect leg. And I thought, oh, here he comes. And I thought probably the worst thing Chris Dobey could have done was win that opening set. And I thought, oh, he's got him angry now. And he's got him angry, and then he's got a break. He's come back from the break, and he's ready to go. And I thought MVG was going to come with an absolute whirlwind. And to a degree that he did. But Dobey was able to weather the storm. And certainly to take the deciding set 3-0, without Michael van Gerwen getting a dart at Dobey. We talked about that about Ryan Searle, I alluded to in the last one. But in that deciding set, in that 5th set, Michael van Gerwen didn't get a dart at a double, and Chris Dobey went 3 out of 5. It was just when he needed it and when it had to come. The 156 for the match was sublime because, and I think what makes the 156 all the more impressive is Chris's last visit, he did a 60. Michael Van Gerwen had come back, pinged a 140 to take himself down to 56. So Michael was sat on 56 on a 2-dart finish. And for Chris to take out 156 with that, knowing that was his chance, having had Michael Van Gerwen already miss a match dart on the bull, Michael Van Gerwen's relationship with the bull was a very interesting one tonight. I think I counted 6 misses on the bull when he'd gone for the bull, and I think there was a moment in that game where he could have had a match dart that was a lot easier than him trying to go for 90 via the bull. For me, it was a bonkers way to go, and I think if he hadn't have missed 5 bulls before that, there's no way he does it.
So yeah, it was bonkers. You're on 90, you dove for bull first start. There's so much that can happen with that first one. Still, if you hit 25, you'd think professionals don't hit 25 or ball the majority of the time. So you are going to get an out shot, but so much more can happen. You get more bounce outs on the bull and 25 segment. You can miss the outside and need a treble. The standard route is obviously to go to the 20s. But for me, I found it very strange, but also knowing that even though in that route, from what you're saying, obviously because of the balls he'd missed early on, that's why he went that way. But even more so, you've still got a chance of still having that bull as your final dart. So I don't know what you benefit from going that way, because you could block it and make it even worse.
Yeah, well, this is it. And and then 15 bull, like what? I couldn't. Yeah, and then 15 back to the bull again. And I think he's gone that route because of what's happened earlier in the match, and he's let the emotion of the 2 8-dart, 8 perfect darts, and the other couple of bulls that he missed, as potentially took a match-winning opportunity away from him there. But Chris Dobey didn't respect that too much, and just, as I say, in that 5th and final set was just sublime. As I say, 3-0 win without letting MVG get a dart at a double, with the 156 to check out with your opponent on 56. Just absolutely top stuff. Best game of the tournament so far. Michael Van Gerwen didn't have a stinker. He didn't have a bad game. He played some amazing darts during that. It was up and down. Chris Dobey was very consistent throughout the entire game, and every now and again lifted the level a little bit. Michael Van Gerwen was peaks and troughs. I think there was a few legs where he took 9 darts to get in. The scoring was often amazing, but then it fell away a little bit, and we saw it was a lot of inconsistency from MVG.
Yeah, just on that, while we're talking about Michael, we need to talk about him in more detail, because to go 8 perfect is fantastic. To go 8 perfect twice. Yes, the first attempt was close. The second attempt was a bit of a pull, and I think it's playing in his mind that he's done it before. But not just that, the amount of times he started off 160 down in the day, the 180, the 180 hitting was there. There was sits in there. Dobey had to find moments of brilliance, and he did that perfectly at the end with that 156. But for me, there's still, and I know Michael doesn't see it that way, but there's a lot of positives to take out of the manner of his performance coming into the back end of this year.
Oh, absolutely, and that's it. Like, Michael didn't play back. He just couldn't find a consistent level, and sometimes he'd be better served, not having those peaks and troughs, and just maybe not reaching that peak, but finding a level that he maintains throughout the match. Because it was a bit up, it was up and down. Certainly getting in, and some of his scoring just fell away at the wrong moment. And Dobey was just there all the time, because he was so consistent that whenever MVG did have a bit of a slip and had a bad visit or couldn't get in, then Dobey would break him, or Dobey would take it away, and he would get that opportunity because he was just so consistent.
Just one last question on this one, Dan, really, and it's got to be about Chris Dobey. Set 4 it looked like, and there's been question marks. There's a lot of people who have called him a bottler before. It's not something, especially on TV. When he missed opportunities there, But then to find the way to get through and win that final set and 3-0, taking out the 1-5-6. One, does that keep all them people quiet? And secondly, does the win at the Masters, the Premier League experience, all that now, the fact he's beating MVG, I think that's his 4th time, maybe 5th time this year on TV. Does all that together just show how much Chris Dobey's grown in 2023?
Oh, like without a doubt. I think he's like his mindset and his approach is absolutely miles away from where it was, 2-3 years ago. I think the Premier League's doing the absolute world of good. Playing there, we've seen it have a arguably a negative effect on people, but playing the very best players in the world week in, week out in big arenas, it almost makes it then I think feels that playing Michael van Gerwen in a slightly smaller arena on a short format is it's comfortable for him. It's not unusual. Yeah. For a time, Chris Dobey, you go back 2 or 3 years, playing Michael van Gerwen on the TV over a relatively short format in a big arena was like, it was a big thing for Chris. It was something, he was out of his comfort zone and never lot. Like, he's done that however many times this year. In the last 6 months, he's done it, 10 times, however many times he's done it. It's not unusual. So, and I think some of it is that the Premier League sharpens players up an awful lot if they're the sort of player that can, in order to get off quickly in terms of their scoring and working. They don't have to play their way into a game because they're used to playing in this environment against these top players over a 1st to 6, over a short format. So then you put them in, a best of 2 sets we saw earlier in the week, best of 3 sets tonight. And we know that it's a short issue. I know, I appreciate that now we've moved further into the tournament, it's a bit longer. But I just think he's well practiced at the minute in being on TV against the best in the world over a number of different formats. And I think there's no substitute for experience and repetition and to become comfortable with something.
And if you have tuned into this show, as you'd love to hear the accent of a Geordie, we are going to move on to the second Geordie of the night and hear a little clip from Chris Dobey, who has had a fantastic, I was going to say 24 hours, but let's go 48 hours and include his first round winner, then Dimitri into that. So let's hear from Chris Dobey now.
Yeah, 100%. After I told people back home, all my friends, family, I said, once I get that first win, there'll be a lot more to come. And I think that's shown. I'm a better player now. I've matured a lot and I've grown into a better player all around. So yeah, I've learned a lot from getting that first win and took it into look where I am now.
Did you used to fear playing him or worry playing him because of the record, and has that now changed?
Yeah, 100%. I used to go in thinking, I've never beaten him yet, and even in mid games I could be I think I was 5-2 up on a Pro Tour one day and lost 6-5, and you're thinking, I'm going to win, but then all of a sudden you start thinking when he's coming back, you think, I'm not going to win, and end up losing. And once I've just grown all around as a good dart player, and then just everything about my game now is I've matured, and yeah, I'm a homegrown dart player now. Yeah, well that's it. I'm not scared of them anymore. I'd rather play them every time. They bring the best out of me, and I think I do the same because I never give up. I'm one of the lads who just wants to play. I don't play mind games. I just want to get on with the game, get off the stage, and I think a lot of people are the same, that they enjoy playing me for that reason. But yeah, I'm just happy with my overall game.
I guarantee when you move on to YouTube after you've watched the show that Chris Dobey does talk about the Champions League. I guarantee that, Dan. So when
he couldn't resist with Polly, could he? Straight after the match, talk about Dan Burn instead.
That will be in there, but he talks there about just getting on with his game and just playing a game of darts. No mind games, nothing like that. Just playing. That leads us on perfectly to who he's going to face tomorrow night in Joe Cullen, who defeated Ross Smith in a fantastic game of darts. That, Dan, Someone messaged me quite early
Oh,
on in that
mate,
game
I
saying
knew
it's
you'd.
going
And
to be 3-0 and we will be on the show very, very shortly.
but to
But,
my
my
credit,
God, Ross Smith put up a right fight.
to my credit, at the time I sent that message, Joe Cullen was 1 set up and he was 2-0 up in the second set. And he was playing some absolutely amazing darts. And Ross Smith couldn't buy a score. And then all of a sudden, Ross Smith woke up and decided that we'd have a darts match instead. And it wasn't just him holding the door open for Joe Cullen to walk into the quarterfinals. And he starts pinging 180s left, right, and centre. And then and it looked, sorry, they levelled up at 1-1. And at that point, I thought, exactly how you said, I've completely jinxed it there, thinking it's a straight 3-0. And then I thought, we're going all the way. And all the way through that game, I kept thinking, we're going all, even though Joe was playing amazingly well. As strange as it is, which is very rare to say for Ross Smith, especially somebody who's put 9 180s in a match, I do feel that it was his scoring that let him down in that game. Too many, whilst he did hit, plenty of big scores, 9 180, 17 140s, 29 visits over 100. He did throw very well, but he threw a lot of loose darts, an awful lot. There was a lot of 41s, searching around for a score, not finding a treble, going, 20, 19, 18, looking for something. And he just couldn't, his doubling, he was like over 50%, Ross Smith, on his doubling. His doubling was absolutely superb. But
yeah, but
he was,
what I would say, that percentage tells a story from an out. What it doesn't tell you is a story from an in, because the percentage was so much better for Joe on the way in. And for me, that was crucial. That Joe's double 16 hitting tonight was very good. And if it wasn't, he looked like he was someone with a plan, and that plan was, let's switch to 18s, let's then switch to 14s. It's not someone I'd ever tell. It's not something I'd tell anyone to do, to go around a board like that and move in so many directions. But Joe Cullen's got a plan, and right now, that plan is coming to fruition, because we know his storing game is ridiculous. We know he's one of the best at storing 180s, 140s, and when he's in that rhythm, there's not much stopping Joe Cullen. And if he can find the doubles, which he did in this game, that set is probably a perfect example. We should have done all the way. Ross Smith was 2-0.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
We 100% should have done all the way. But Joe Cullen, in himself, I think tonight, was thinking, I'm winning this game.
Yeah,
if you do all the way, if it's in full
was
set,
he? Yeah,
this game is won by me. He put in his best ever performance at the World Grand Prix. And for me, again, we are set up for the bottom half. Those quarterfinals tomorrow night, the last 2 games tomorrow night, are set up perfectly, because Joe Cullen facing Prix Dobey, with both of them in the form that they've produced tonight. If we see them both produce that tomorrow night, I have absolutely no idea how that game to go down, because they were both outstanding.
Yeah, really, really good performances from both of them tonight. And again, it's for me, it's undoubtedly the pick of the quarterfinals. And I know we talked about Peter Wright and Luke Humphries being a good potential game, but that's got to be the pick based on the performance of both players tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a game, a very, very good A game in Dobey and Cullen, and there's also a good B game in both of them. The difference is, that's with Humphries and Peter Wright. I'm not convinced they have that same level of B game. So
definitely.
That game has the potential to drop, where I think Dobey and Cullen will have drama, will have a very good performance from both tomorrow. But let's hear from the last person to put himself into the quarterfinals, and that is Joe Cullen.
But no, he has it. I've seen a couple of interviews with yourself and other players saying that he's the man to beat. But I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't rather play Chris. Because I would. He's not as good a player as Michael van Gerwen. I think Chris will admit that, and I think a lot of people would. So, but Chris is a fantastic player and an even better lad. As you know yourself. So I'll be looking forward to it, and I'll be up for it.
Obviously, I know you said you'd rather play Chris, but now did your thought process change because Michael's out as well? Is the tournament like wide open, and do you believe you can win it even more, perhaps?
No. I think maybe slightly it would if it was a normal competition, but I've always said double start is a massive thing. If you can get away, your first 2 darts especially, it's a massive leveler, and I think Michael struggled tonight. Obviously he missed both twice for a 9-darter and ended up losing the game. And I don't think his average was too great either, which suggests that he struggled to get off, which is a massive thing. It's all about getting off, no matter who you play. No, I don't think the approach changes. I think your mindset changes slightly, but I think it would maybe change slightly if they played after I played. I obviously knew before I went on stage that Chris was waiting, the winner of me and Ross. So it's one of those. Chris is the fantastic player. He's had a great year so far. It's a lot similar to myself last year, so it should be a great game because he's a great lad.
As always, a very well-spoken interview from Joe Cullen. Very honest on stage with Wayne, very honest afterwards to say that he much preferred playing Chris, but totally agree that the professional nature of Joe Cullen's performance was that he knew he was playing Chris before he went on to his day. Yeah. It wasn't if it's a surprise now. He knew that was the case, and for me that shows when we've seen before players have dipped because they thought, not only have I got a easier tie now, that actually I think they win this title. Joe Cullen was so professional tonight, and as I said, he's doubling both in and out. His scoring was very good. 17 180s in that game. Yes, you talked about Ross Smith hitting 9, but Joe Cullen hit 8 himself. And when he's in that rhythm, he's certainly one to watch. We will move on to tomorrow night's play, Dan. And we start off just looking, I did make the notes of the order of play before we come on. Gerwen Price against Martin Schindler. Can you see a surprise in this one? Or do you think Gerwen Price gets the win?
We've heard a lot from Martin Schindler this week. And to be fair, he's backed it up. Like we've heard lots from him in lots of interviews, and he's backed everything up so far. But
he's the
but I think this is just where the wall falls down. I think it's just a bridge too far. I think Gezi Price wins 3-1.
3-1. People in the chat room, let's get involved as well with some predictions. As well, I don't want to be boring here, but I do think Desi beats him 2-0. The fact it's on first, I think may in theory help him less time sort of build up to it, but actually I just can't see anything other than Gerwen Price, especially how good he's at eating tops. Yeah. I can see it being quite a convincing win. Schindler has got a dame. I do agree that he has got a dame, and we've seen that this week. But we talked about the opportunity arising for you likes of Cullen, Dobey, that sort of it with MVG being out. I think that also makes Gerwen Price even more like if I want to get myself into that final, because who I'm playing in the final now isn't Michael, and I'm going to be favourite if I can get into that stage. So I think Gerwen Price eases into the semi-finals with a 3-0 win, as does Matthew in the chat room. We then move on to the current world champion, taking on the current UK Open champion, Michael Smith taking on Andrew Dilding, in a game that I didn't see Andrew Dilding get into this stage, especially with the run that he had. But can he get past the world champion, Dan?
Well, so far, in this part of the bracket, I've predicted Callan Ridge to beat Michael Smith. And I was made to look a fool. And I predicted Brendan Dolan to beat Michael Smith. And I was made to look a fool. And I'll be buggered if I'm not going to have a hat-trick. So I am going to do it. And I am going to predict that Andrew Gilding beats Michael Smith 3-2.
My biggest surprise there is I knew you was going to go for Andrew Dilding. My biggest surprise there is I think if we get to that stage, I would then be fancying Bully Boy. So I thought you'd do a little bit more convincing, and then it would go that way. So my biggest surprise there was 3-2. knowing that you've done for Dilding earlier on, just on the early game. Daz has done for a shot in Schindler beating Derwin Price 3-2. On the Smith Dame, I think Smith wins. I think Smith wins 2-3-1. But and Daz has just put that in as well. But I don't see it being a convincing 3-1. As we've seen with some games tonight, we've not had the most convincing 3-0. I think it could be a Lundame, it could be a lot of leads.
3-2 set.
It could even see Andrew Dilding down 1-0 up. But I think Michael Smith finds a way to get himself into the semi-final and follow up what has been two very good performances, and he goes on to beat Andrew Dilding and sets up a mouth-watering tie with Derwin Price. And even more so if it means you then a hat-trick, Dan. It'd be a perfect week for you on that front. So
someone's got to look a fool, haven't they?
Michael Smith and Derwin Price to meet in the semi-final for me. And then moving on to semi-final number 3, it is the two-time world champion Peter Wright taking on the guy who's won that many Euro Tours. I've forgot the number, but yet to win a TV title, Louis Humphries. Where are you going with this one, mate?
Well, for one reason and one reason alone, because Peter Wright played amazing tonight and didn't change his darts. And I'm really convinced that when he turns up tomorrow, he's got the same set of darts in his hand. Like, I think he's going to start the game tomorrow with those MVG darts in his hand, and that's what he's going to play with. And for that reason, I will go 3-2 Peter Wright. If he turns up with something else, and he turns up with, like, somehow a set of modified Phil Taylor balloon things, then I might want to rethink that. But I'll go with I just think he might carry some of that form through. He's really good in his first 2 games. If he turns up with those same set of darts again tomorrow, I think Peter Wright does him 3-2. Big game player, good set player. He's really clicking with those big checkouts. He's going to need those big checkouts because Luke will have him under pressure. Like, he will be under pressure tomorrow, and he's going to need to take out those big 3-dart combinations. But if he's in the mindset and he's in the form where it's happening, then I think Peter wins.
So I'm just looking at the numbers, and I don't normally delve into the numbers too much. Both players have dropped their average from first round to second round by 2 points. However, Peter Wright has done from 89 to 87. Luke Humphries has done from 86 to 84, which seems to show that Peter Wright is playing better. Them averages are down to a lot to Peter Wright's finishing tonight because it was very, very good, and he's doubling in. I'm struggling with this game. I'm going to be watching this tomorrow with Dob. We're heading up to Newbury for the weekend for the seniors.
Oh, look at you.
And I feel like whatever result I give you now, I will change my mind once on my way up and probably about 5 times while the game's playing. But right now, I'm going to just edge with Luke Humphries.
Good for
I think he's just I think there's just something there at the moment. And the fact he's come through tonight 3-0 and not played well at all, and he's annoyed with himself, I think he puts in his best performance of the tournament so far and beats Peter Wright 3-1. And then I think each set we'll look at that will be very close. I don't expect anyone to come through and whitewash anyone at any point really during the set, not just. But I think Luke Humphries comes through that one 3-1 in the chat room. Matthew's done for 3-2 Peter Wright. Daz has done for 3-2 Peter Wright, but with a 9 out. I'm definitely saying a 9 darter there. Not sure if the MVG specials today have done to Daz anything that Peter Wright's going to follow it up, but anything's possible at the Grand Prix. And then final game of the quarterfinals tomorrow night is Chris Dobey taking on Joe Cullen. Dan, I think you can only pick one outcome sitting there in that top.
Yeah, I'm going to shock
you can pick any other way.
it is, and I do. It's not. It's head and heart. Like, I genuinely believe it. I do think, and I know, Joe was absolutely tremendous tonight. Like, he was really, really good. But I am going with a Chris, just a consistent, big scoring, top performance from Chris Dobey tomorrow. Oh, balls to it. 3-1. I'll give Joe a leg.
I'm making the mistake.
I'll give him a set. I will give him one set.
I'm making the mistake of being over prepared, and I've been looking at numbers for this, and the fact that Chris Dobey's averaged around the same in both of these, and Joe Cullen's averaged better in both games, and not even better today. I'm gonna go with he's playing too good for me not to back Joe Cullen. I have to go with Joe to win it. But because it's so good and because we're building it up, you know what? I'm going all the way. I'm going 3-2 and I'm going 3-2 in the decider. And Joe Cullen comes through and wins it.
I tell you what, if it is, I'll have even less hair by the end of that match tomorrow. If it's
Is it possible?
Yeah. Oh, mate, I've got there's a little bit kicking around still, I think. It looks even worse under this light, you see. I'm getting lots of reflection.
Matthew's done 3-1 to Dobey. Daz is on Dobey, depends on what double he starts on. I just think that game is going to deliver. Whether it's down to be big numbers, whether it's down to be drama, whether it's down to be big outs, I think that game just delivers. There is something in how Joe Cullen and Dobey are playing that game delivers, and hopefully I'm not eating my words tomorrow night, but that should be a great game. We've just done past midnight, Dan, in what has been the best session of from Prix playing. You're yawning, which means we must be coming
I'm
to
sorry.
an end.
I've been far too many late nights on these this week.
It's been a long
too many early mornings
48 hours for you, Dan. So very much appreciated for you joining me tonight. Thanks very much for everyone in the chat room. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and whatever else they come up with in the meantime. If you want to listen to the 4 interviews from tonight, make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and you will get the full interviews which have been done by Phil Bars. Thanks very much for your continued support. We will be back tomorrow night for quarterfinal Fallout Bar. Dan, that's it from me. Good night.
Good night.